Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. In the name of the living God, amen. Let's be seated. So you might have heard, and if you were around earlier, you might have seen that a new force of nature has entered our family's life. A Labrador Bull Terrier mix puppy named Scout. Scout, as we have come to say in the Kinman house, is very Scout-like. Now, being Scout-like is a wonderful mixture of curiosity, energy, and boundless enthusiasm. It's that amazing puppy joy where every new person is just the best, most exciting thing, and you are my best friend, and I'm so excited, and I can't keep my paws on the ground, and oh, I want to lick you, oh, and now I want to choose something really interesting that you're wearing, and oh, never mind, I love you so much. And if she already knows you, the greeting becomes, "You're home! I'm so excited, so excited, so excited, so excited, so excited. I love you. Feed me." So no matter how high or low I am, when I come home and I become the target of this guided puppy projectile, I know I am loved. And we learn about God from so many sources, and I'm learning a lot about God from Scout, because God's love for us is a Scout-like love. Regardless of what we have done or left undone, God spies us, and God's heart and entire being dances. God sees you and says, "It's you! I'm so excited, so excited, so excited, so excited." I once saw a bumper sticker that read, "God help me to be the person my dog thinks I am." So here's the thing. We are. You are. Now, we may not always act like it, but we are the people that puppies think we are, because God's love is a Scout-like love. And that's not all. So we have another dog, Frinkles. Frinkles is 10, and she's kind of getting up there and has a little arthritis. And even though she has trouble getting up the stairs, every night that's what she does, so she can plop herself down next to Hayden's bed and stay there until morning. Frinkles' love is not unbridled and ebullient. It is deep and faithful. A Frinklish love watches over and loves deeply. A Frinklish love braves aching joints to trudge upstairs just to be with you. A Frinklish love somehow knows when you're hurting, and that just being with you through it, just making sure that you aren't alone, is the healing we almost need. We may not always act like it, but we are the people that our dogs think we are. We are delightful and wonderful. We are worthy of love, and that love is always there for us no matter what, because God's love is a Scout-like love, and God's love is a Frinklish love. And so today we're celebrating the feast of St. Francis. Francis loved animals, so earlier today we had the huge parade of animals and blessing of animals, and we bless animals knowing that they are already a blessing, because animals reveal God's Scout-like Frinklish love. And here's another story. There is another story, maybe apocryphal, about St. Francis that I think can be instructive for us today. So like many people of his time, Francis was pretty afraid of, and frankly kind of creeped out by people with leprosy. Now that's human. When people have a condition that makes them different for whatever we've decided is the norm, especially one that involves pain and wounds, we're aware of the difference and it can make us uncomfortable. And then that discomfort creates further division because maybe we don't know what to say or how to act, and maybe we're terrified of saying or doing the wrong thing, and maybe it all triggers some things inside us that make us uncomfortable. And so sometimes even without knowing it, we quietly pull away. It's natural and it's human. And it can also be really devastating because often just at the time people need community the most, community recedes into the shadows. So anyway, Francis is riding on his horse and comes upon someone with leprosy. And he wants to turn away. But God awakens the Scoutlike, Frinklish love in Francis' heart and helps Francis see not a leper, but a beloved. And God's Scout-like love starts beating in Francis' heart saying, "It's you. I'm so excited, so excited, so excited, so excited." And God's Frinklish love starts beating in Francis' heart, saying, "Oh, I just have to be with this person and let them know that they are loved and not alone." And Francis gets off his horse, walks over to the man, and they embrace and they kiss. In this morning's gospel, Jesus is absolutely singing to us. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I love this translation. It's Eugene Peterson's The Message. I love this translation because it so perfectly expresses what I've heard from so many of you about why you have been drawn into the orbit of All Saints Church and what we believe about the Scout-like, Frinklish love of God. So many of you have entrusted me with your stories about how you were just this close to giving up on church when you decided to just give it one more try at All Saints Church, kind of a last chance saloon before heading away from faith community forever. Why? Because we have all seen what religion can do in its all too often weaponized form. And we are burned out on it. I know I am burned out on it. We are tired, worn out, and burned out on religion. And we long for the unforced rhythms of grace. Religion, in this sense, is what happens when we take those unforced rhythms of grace and try to force them into the power structures of the world, when we give authority to those who have privilege in the world and expect everyone else, including the church, to emulate them. Religion, in this sense, is imprisoning love in dogma that says love can only be earned by right belief and right practice. It is trying to incarcerate in a forced march the wild and revolutionary, slow and faithful dance of God's Scout-like and Frinklish love. Now, if Francis, bound by this kind of religion, would have seen a leper and would have ridden past, and maybe he would have thrown him a little something on the way, because lepers were unseemly, dangerous, and also just not worth the time of an important person with wealth and power. But God whispered her unforced rhythms of grace in Francis' ear and awakened the Scout-like, Frinklish love in Francis' heart, and Francis' life changed forever. Now, this story is often used to reinforce the binaries of us and them that bind God's unforced rhythms of grace. It becomes more dogma than dance, a command that we need to help the unfortunate other so we can earn a love that isn't ours to begin with. But that's not what happens in this story. Francis doesn't do good deeds. Francis doesn't help the person with leprosy. He gets off his horse. They embrace. They share a kiss. Each is a gift to the other. My wife Robin has been reading a book called Becoming Human by Jean Vanier. Vanier founded L'Arche, which describes itself as an organization of homes, programs, and support networks with people with intellectual disabilities. That language of disability that they have chosen is unfortunate because they themselves define their communities not as disabled, but rather as saying, I think like you, but differently. I think like you, but differently. Now, as a lifelong educator, Robin continually challenges and teaches me about the language we use. I was sharing with her this week about a conversation I had with someone who self-identified as ADD, and she pushed back strongly against that term, attention deficit disorder. And as I have heard her say many times before, she said, ADD is neither a deficit nor a disorder. We each think differently. Now later she showed me a passage from Vanier's book where he writes these words that have deep significance for an All Saints church community that holds radical inclusion as a core value. Here's what Vanier writes. When I talk about inclusion of people with, and here I will add so-called disabilities, I am not just saying that we should be kind to such people, nor normalize them to be like us. They have a gift to give to all, to each of us as individuals and to society in general. The excluded live certain values we all need to discover and live ourselves before we can become truly human. It is not just a question of performing good deeds for those who are excluded, but of being open and vulnerable to them in order to receive the life that they can offer. Now, Vanier is perpetuating his own binary that I will get to in a moment, and the gospel truth for us in his writing and Francis' action is that when we don't fit into the subjective norms around which society is structured, we don't just need accommodations to somehow try to fit in better. It is when we don't fit in that we become primary agents of unbound grace for the healing and transformation of ourselves, our community, and the world. Last week I read to you Nick Wolterstorff's words lamenting his son's death. Nick wrote, I shall look at the world through tears. Perhaps I shall see things that dry-eyed I could not see. When we think differently, feel differently, we see and move through the world differently, and that opens us up to be the generator of the new idea, the beautiful dance, the plaintive lament that will transform the world. It is no accident that the world's preeminent prophet on the very destruction of life on this planet, Greta Thunberg, someone whose Asperger's means she thinks differently. And as Greta would be the first to say, we need to look beyond her to those on other far-flung margins. Children and youth of color whom we may be less comfortable hearing convicting truths from than from a white girl from Sweden. Prophets like Jamie Margolin, the queer mixed-race Latina who founded the Zero Hour movement. Autumn Peltier, a 13-year-old water warrior for the Anishinaabe Nation. And 14-year-old Leah Namugerwa, a Ugandan student who strikes every Friday by not attending class in order to protest plastic pollution and other environmental calamities. When we are different from the norm, be it neurodiversity, generation, being a member of a marginalized race, culture, class, or more, the way we move through the world disrupts the forced patterns of the norm that can become prisons for us all. When we are different from the norm, our very heartbeats can become the drum majors for God's unforced rhythms of grace. God whispers in Francis' ear and awakens God's Scoutlike, Frinklish love in Francis' heart. And Francis embraces the image of God with leprosy, not to be kind or to do a good deed, but because he knows that person is the Christ, the presence of God specifically embodied in what made that person different. And the Christ in all of us is always a gift to be shared. And there is an even deeper and more surprising truth that springs from Francis' actions and that reveals an unintended binary in Vanier's words. The leper is not the other. Each of us is the leper too. So last Sunday, hundreds of you brought cards on which you wrote secrets you wished you had someone to tell and songs your heart longed to sing. And as we collected all these up, we realized that we actually never said what we would do with these cards, which, though anonymous, this represented you trusting us with your deep vulnerability. And then we also needed, we should probably close the loop with you as a congregation and not leave you wondering what happened. So Sally and I got together and we listened to thoughts from a bunch of people, and what we decided was to treat them as stories shared in confession. And that she and I, as people bound by vow to preserve the sanctity of confession, would read them, pray with them, and let them shape our care for one another in community. And because of that, all we would share more broadly were themes that emerged. Well, so what were the themes? It's exactly what you would expect. It's exactly what you would expect from a community of thoroughly human beings. We are lonely and we're scared. We have affairs and we have been betrayed. We have stolen and we lie. We have been abused and we are abusers. We dream of love and justice and we long to sing our songs of freedom. In short, we are deeply, beautifully human. And while there was not a single card that shocked me, there were many that grieved my heart with the thought, oh my God, whoever you are carrying this secret all by yourself, and that must be so hard. That must be so exhausting. There were so many that made my heart just burst with admiration for courage. Oh my God, whoever you are so brave and strong, even anonymously, to write this down and lay this on Christ's table. And so here's the second truth that comes from Francis. Each of us is the leper too. And that is not a deficit, it is a gift. The secret we carry, even it is a secret of a terrible wound we have suffered or even caused, even if it is something that we dearly wish we could stop and cannot figure out how, the secret is a gift and opportunity for healing and transformation if we carry it together. Because we do not have deficits and we do not have disorders. We have wounds that need healing, lives that are ever transforming, and differences that are the embodiment of God's unforced rhythms of grace. And God looks at each of us and all of us. God looks at you. With all of your secrets and all of your songs, God looks at you and me and every single one of us and says, it's you. I'm so excited, so excited, so excited, so excited. And God looks at you and at me and at every single one of us and says, I just have to be with this person. I have to be with you and let you know that you are loved and that you're not alone. And God longs for us to embrace each other the same way. For we are not only, Francis, gifted with the opportunity to embrace the person with leprosy, we are the person with leprosy whom Francis is gifted to embrace. We are, each of us and all of us, loved beyond measure with God's Scoutlike and Frinklish love. So are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come together. Come to this table. Share your secrets and your songs. Let's carry them and sing them together, and you'll recover your life. God is longing for you, waiting for you to come through that door so she can tackle you and lick you, and trudging slowly up the stairs to lay next to you as you sleep. God is longing for you, not to follow a set of rules, but to love and be loved with God's Scout-like, Frinklish love, and together to learn the unforced rhythms of grace. Amen.